Hey, anyway, guys. Hey, what's up? It's me, Jay. Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about my thoughts on Little Mermaid live performance that they did last night, starring Lou Carvalho, Queen Latifah, um, Shaggy, Shaggy, and whoever was the guy that played Prince Eric. Um, I didn't really care for it. I thought it was stupid because for most of it they just played the cartoon anyway. You know, they didn't do a whole performance live, like you was here on Broadway. They just played it for most of it. They played the cartoon, and that was it. The only thing I liked was Queen Latifah's performance as Ursula and her song. And plus, they added a song from Prince Eric in the original 1989 cartoon. Prince Eric doesn't sing. There's no song from Prince Eric. He only says two words. People always laugh at the Little Mermaid, the premise of the Little Mermaid, because it they meet each other, they fall in love within 2 days, and all of a sudden they're destined to be together. Other people like the Little Mermaid because it shows a young girl asserting herself against her father's wishes. She doesn't have a mother. People in Disney movies never have mothers, except for um, the more recent uh, Brave, except for Brave. It's sort of about the girl and the mother, but in most Disney movies during the Renaissance period, people rarely had mothers. But this story, I didn't really like it. This performance, this rendition, um, Under the Sea by Shaggy, with Shaggy singing, it was all right, but I prefer the original voice of Sebastian to that. And like I said, they just showed the cartoon. For that, just watch the cartoon. Anyway, a couple more days till Disney Plus comes out. I'm really excited for a lot of the shows they got coming lately. They should have live action, the Mandalorian series, and I think the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I'm not sure. And in more Disney related news, they announced that Frozen 2 will be coming out soon. And of course, um, uh, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker is coming soon. And and I'm currently reading Bob Iger's book about his time um, as the CEO of Disney, and in addition to his time working at ABC. Bob Iger is the head of Disney, the HNIC of Disney right now, and he's the guy responsible for buying Pixar, buying Marvel, and buying Lucasfilm. And it's really interesting to see his thought process on how he was able to resurrect the Disney brand from where it was, because Disney is a company that has existed since 1923, and they've had their runs where they've been really successful, really influential. Obviously, when Walt Disney was alive, in the 1920s with the Mickey Mouse shorts, the first one in 1928, Steamboat Willie. The first animated feature film in 1937, Snow White, and then from Snow White they want to roll until Dumbo, when the animators decided to go on strike, and then after Dumbo they want to roll in the 1950s until they made the Jungle Book. Walt Disney died, and for like 20 years until Jeffrey Katzenberg got there in the 80s, they were in a very dark spot. That's when they released The Fox and the Hound, Black Cauldron, and other Disney flop movies. And then In 1989 was when they did the movie with Steven Spielberg, and uh, they co-produced with their rival Warner Brothers, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. But even though they did Who Framed Roger Rabbit, it was really the the film The Little Mermaid the same year, 1989, that really brought Disney back into the game. And then from 1989 to 1994 was the Disney Renaissance period. And then after 1994, that's when Pixar came out. And Pixar started its Toy Story. And then from Toy Story onward, Disney struggled because Toy Story took animation to the next level. They started doing the digital animation, which Disney really wasn't caught up on. And then, and Bob Iger talks about this in his book, um, Pixar really started surpassing Disney, and Pixar and Disney had a deal. John Lasseter, head of Pixar, and Steve Jobs, founder of Apple, and also the co-head of Pixar, um, was doing a deal with they were doing a deal with Disney where Disney would get half, but then they stopped doing that deal in 2000. So, and then Iger talks about the death of Steve Jobs, his friendship with Steve Jobs, and how Disney purchased Pixar. And from purchasing Pixar, they went on to purchase a lot of other companies, including, like I said before, Lucasfilm and Marvel. Right before Stanley sold Marvel before he passed away, but George Lucas sold Lucasfilm in 2012. And it talks about in Iger's book how Lucas really didn't like the the way that Disney handled his creation, his baby, his Star Wars. And how does this tie in? How does this all tie into the Little Mermaid? Well, Little Mermaid is the film, much like Frozen is the film. Frozen in this generation, Little Mermaid was in that generation in the 80s and 90s that brought Disney back. So, like Steamboat Willie, like Snow White, like Sleeping Beauty, and like Frozen, these are the Disney rebirth films. In Disney's long illustrious history, it's been reborn 4 times. Oddly enough, reading Disney's history is sort of like reading the Bible. And why I say oddly enough is because we all know that Walt Disney, the man, was very anti-Jewish and anti-Semitic. But Bob Iger is Jewish. Um, and he's in charge. Uh, he's in charge of Disney, so that's kind of Disney, the company. So it's kind of strange, and how Disney's rise and falls parallel that of rise and falls of Jewish civilization in the Bible. In certain ways, they're up, they're down, they're up, they're down, they're up, they're down. I guess that's the peaks and valleys of a long-standing organization that has existed for so many years. Anyway, these guys, I gotta head out, but I'll be doing a video on my thoughts on Terminator: Dark Fate. I know I talked about it, but I talked a little bit about it before, but I don't. I didn't really care for the film. Well, I liked it. I liked the action, but there was something in it I didn't like, and I'm going to discuss that in a future video. Peace. But anyway, I'll be doing the video on Bob Iger's book. Peace.